What point did you have designs on the building that we're now in, which was the barn at the bottom of the garden, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, quite early on, really. I mean, I kept looking at this place, but my wife had already, Vicky had got her horses in it, and we'd cut like a double doorway, and we had the group van in one side and the horse in what was to become the control room. So it didn't look as though I was going to get that for quite some time. But I mean, what happened in the end was in 1970, Vicky was left a bit of money by her father, who'd bequeathed some money, and she kindly lent me some of that to get going, as it were. And that was when we decided that we would build a wooden stable at the end of the garden to put the horse in, which freed up the building.
Right.
And then I had enough money to sort of buy the building materials and fit it out, line it out with acoustic tiles, you know, underdraw the ceilings and put everything there. Build a control room with a separate wall and window in it.
And you built the desk that went in there?
Yeah, I built a mixing desk. Yeah, it took me about a year and a half. I mean, from about 1970 until we opened at the end of 1973, we sort of got the building fairly finished. Got you know, the walls are finished, and it was. I don't think the glass was in the control room window, but it was a usable room, and I was able to build a mixing desk in there because she needed quite a bit of room to do it. And I just sat in there for days and days and days soldering and building all the circuits up. So yeah, I built a mixing desk, and I had enough money left to buy the two Neumanns, which were £120 each, which is a fortune. But when you consider now the same mics are about £2,000 each, and still made, aren't they?
Yeah.
And a few other bits of kit. The worst bit of kit I bought was a 3-track Ampex recorder. You got to remember that you were very spoiled for choice. Well, not spoiled for choice. The opposite. You couldn't get any gear hardly. It was all like an industrial level in those days to get anything other than just a very cheap tape recorder. And Basil Kirchin had always said, "Oh, you need these big recorders. There's the one that always sound fantastic." And there was a place in Carnforth where I used to get the white label things, the acetate press, and they had one for sale. And I bought it, and it was a bad choice really, because the heads were worn out, and I had to get a new flywheel for it, which cost £100 for a new flywheel. And it really was bad. And just at that time, TAC brought out a 4-track on quarter-inch tape for £400, and I paid £600 for this big monstrosity, really. I didn't tell Vicky about that. I was a bit worried.
The TAC didn't look as serious, though, did it?
Didn't look as good, no, but, you know, we...
How long did was that 3-track around?
It hardly got used, to be honest, because I'd gone into partnership with Pete Green anyway, who'd started his home studio, and he was in the band, you see, so I said, it's a bit stupid as both having a studio, why don't we mix our resources? And so we got his 4-track in, and we said, we'll hook it up with the 3-track, and we'll advertise it as a 7-track, which is a bit like a £9 note, isn't it? 7-track studio. And we did that for a while, but it was hard to sell it as that. So that's when we heard that there was an 8-track going for sale at Kong Studio, the Kink Studio in Buswell Hill. And I managed to get a bank loan. I suppose there was just enough equity in the house to secure it. And
that was the 8-track Ampex?
The 8-track Ampex, it was a lovely machine, yeah.
Danny Wood told me that there was no tape counter on that machine.
No, there wasn't at all.
That must have been a nightmare.
Well, when you came to work here, was the one on then?
Well, I didn't. Well, I recorded here on that machine.
Oh yeah,
I didn't work.
No.
The machine that was here when I started, I think, was the MCI.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there was no tape counter, but we used to have tape ops in those days, of course. So me and Pete were running the studio, and if I was recording, he was tape opping, and vice versa. And when the track started, he used to set it going and hold a chinograph against the head and the tape and put a long line, because when it was whizzing through at high speed, it used to flash through, so you had to do a line about 3 meters long or something like that. And that's the way, when you had to rewind, you ran back to this point. But because they used to reuse these tapes, and they got filled with chinograph marks in the end, which must have gone on to the recording side, don't you think? So I decided I would make a counter for it, and I managed to do it by devious methods. I think I put something on the take-up spool, a cylinder going round, which had like a beam going through it and shutters. And the other thing had to be told which way it was going, whether it was going forward or backwards. I found a circuit somewhere, I think it was in Studio Sound, and I built it, and it was very good, and quite accurate, really.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Stuff you've made over the years.
And I put the readout on the desk as well, so you just, and I put duplicated the controls on the desk as well, the fast forward and play and record, so that you didn't have to go to the machine at all.
Brilliant.
So it was like luxury, it really was.
Yeah. I remember the incident with the counters, tape counters on the MCI machine that became very inaccurate.
Yeah.
I think did you speak to somebody at MCI about it? Was that how you got the...
It was the counter wheel that the tape went over. It should have had like a matte finish and it had got very shiny. And they used to slip, so it was very inaccurate. And I tried putting like a matte varnish on it and trying to get this sort of, this crackled sort of finish back that used to be on it. And that didn't work. I think the tape stuck to it or something like that, so when it got hot. So we got the idea of putting a condom on it.
An unlubricated one, if I remember. I remember you and I visiting the Hull Truss and
Surgical
company, asking if they
Dock Street,
asking if they could sell us some unlubricated condoms.
Yeah, and they said they had some that were out of date, and they let us have about 20 or 30 very cheaply. But because they're out of date, it's very hard to get one on without it splitting. But I've got a picture of that control room with Roy and me in it, and that MCI machine in the back, and you can plainly see there's something on that wheel that looks suspiciously like a condom. Well, I never really got over that problem, and he wasn't that successful even with the condom on it. So,
so you got quite busy after you moved into this building, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, for the it took off pretty quickly, really.
Yeah. And at what point did you take Roy on then? Had he been here recording?
Yeah, he came to recording, I think it was 1976. By this time, Pete and I had split, or I'd bought Pete out because he said it was interfering too much with his social life, because, he was on social hours that he worked. And the studio was getting more and more busy. We got a contract with SRT doing the road albums by that time, 1 or 2 a week. So I was really busy, and having to do all the rest of the work, doing the administration and the billing, and even cleaning, washing up and cleaning the vacuuming it out. It was really hard work, because a lot of sessions went really late in the night. Then there'd be a new group bright and early next morning. I remember being laid in bed, knowing there was a session starting at 10 or 9, 10 o'clock, and you had a van going up the lane at 9 because they wanted to get a good start. So I had to get up and let them in. And so I was really looking for somebody to help out. And Roy came to do a session with Brian Manning, and Danny got Roy to come in on this session. I don't know why, really, for some special guitar work that Roy was good at. And we got on very well together. He was a nice lad, and he was really interested in what was going on. So I said, well, would he be interested in doing it, working there? And he was living in London at the time, and he said, well, he couldn't just come at the time. He had a bit of finishing off to do. I think he was waiting to see if what they'd been doing in London got anywhere. I think he was working with a girl singer. He was like the resident guitarist with this girl singer, and signed up to Island Records. Anyway, that didn't come off, so he was available, and a few months later he came, and he picked it up very quickly, and became a very good engineer.
He did. He made some great records. I'm constantly getting messages from people on Facebook who remember there was a guy last week contacted me from a band called Saracen, who did an album here with Roy. I think he said it was 1980, which was the year before I started.
Yeah.
And it was a small label, Nucleus.
Yeah.
I think, but you probably don't know this, but some time after that was released, it did quite well. But Polygram took it up and re-released it, and became a very successful.
No, didn't know that.
And the band's still on the go.
Yeah. Yeah, it was particularly good at heavy metal.
Yeah.
Um,
Heavy rock stuff.
there was Rondelay Records. We worked for them quite a bit.
All right.
Yeah, he did a lot of very good work. Certainly.
And he and Danny produced some fantastic in-house.
Oh
work,
yeah,
didn't they?
yeah.
With the house
I mean,
band.
that was a real asset to the studio, because I mean, in those days we got a lot of singers who had no backing, and they used to ask us to arrange the backing. And Danny was brilliant at it. You know, he used to do some really tasteful stuff, sort of on the spot, really. You know, not really writing it out or anything, but just listening to it and trying different things. And we got this nucleus of good musicians: Bernie Dolman on bass, and various drummers, Dave Harveys and Dave Morell, and then Norman Barron, who later worked with me on the cassette duplication side. He was a good friend as well, because he'd been in the Kirchin band, so I knew him, and he would arrange any brass that needed to be brought in. So we got a really good setup. We could do, you know, excellent back-ends even for mediocre singers, and it made them sound pretty good. So it really brought the business on a lot, and it was good regular work. I mean, that was mainly for the SRT stuff. It was only doing cover versions basically, but it was good regular money coming in.